Good morning out there. Let's check and make sure we're good. All right. Good morning out there. Let's check. We are good. And make sure we're good. Okay. Now. Good morning, Kevin. Wow, you got on quick. Probably won't be a long one today, but we'll get it done. All right. We good to go? Let's do this. Good morning. It's Monday. My name's Ryan. Welcome to Coffee and Resales, where we discuss things that I get from yard sales, garage sales, thrift stores, and various other venues. This morning, I've got a handful of sales over the weekend. Like Wednesday, Thursday blew up last week, but this weekend went a little sluggish. But that's okay because I had one decent sale, and one thing was like, because I hate doing it. And I did get a few finds Friday that are worth discussing. So that is the plan this morning. First off is this morning with Chapman at Camp meeting, small religious pamphlet. Don't sleep on these. This went for $8. And no, excuse me, $6. But I have had a ton of these over the past year or two. I came across what amounted to I think some like a pastor's stash of stuff that wound up getting donated somewhere, and I wound up picking up a whole ton of it. I think this was in that. There was stuff like this that was $30-$40 all the way down to $1 or $2 pieces. So these things are also really good to lot up. It's almost ephemera, but some of them can be, depending on the topic or who wrote it, or just the general interest in it. There's actually some historical value in some of these. These are, if you can get a stash of those 25-50 cents a piece, get them. Because you're going to find some in there that probably have some reasonably decent value. And I'm talking all the way from tracts, like Bible tracts and that sort of stuff, up to, this size or bigger, like pamphlet type stuff. Don't sleep on it. There's value in them with the religious material. Sometimes there's some really crazy stuff. That's the stuff that went for a lot of money. What I had was some like alien stuff. A lot of it is very Cold War stuff, and that's sold. It's like older conspiracy theory stuff sometimes that kind of get printed like that, but don't sleep on it. Next up is stuff you should probably sleep on, and that's China. This is Hall Jewel Tea. It's a gravy boat. I thought this sold for $11. Thankfully, Ground Advantage. I'm probably not going to lose any money on it. I think I was thinking it was going to go for about $15 or more. I think it would have done well in a antique store in the $15 to $20 range, but alas, it did not. And now I have to ship out China, and that's a pain because China breaks, and I've never had great success shipping it, and I probably shouldn't have bought it. But it is what it is, and so I've got to make the best of it. Anyway, okay. From the bad to the good. And this is why you're here. It didn't break. Now watch it break in the box. That is why you're here. These bad boys. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Vintage. 1994. Blue side. This is actually a staff role play sort of cosplay weapon. This actually came with a set, I think, with all the other weapons, and with a handful of other weapons. These were in a bag of stuff at it's one of those thrift stores that bags like 4 or 5 toys for $3 to $5 in them. This was in there. $35 for these two. I wonder what the whole set would go for if you had it. That's worth a sip of coffee. Anyway, these two bad boys, $35. Several things. One, it's Halloween time. From about now, late August, all the way up until Halloween, cosplay stuff is going to sell. This hits several niches, which is good, which is what you always like to see. One, Halloween. Two, cosplay. Power Rangers cosplay is still a pretty big thing. Their conventions are still pretty well attended. People love the original Power Ranger stuff. So this I might be able to get $35 year round for this stuff. And it's not just Halloween and that. It's like people going to the conventions. Somebody may want this because they're going to a Power Rangers con, Dragon Con, or I think the person bought it from New York Comic Con. You know, they may want this for their costume. They may just be a collector of Power Ranger stuff. The original Power Rangers, the early mid '90s stuff, actually does pretty decently. It's not great. It ain't like it's G.I. Joe's, but it's stuff the cosplay stuff does really well. The figures not necessarily. The Zords do well. The big robot things do pretty decently. Sometimes the figures you can at least lot up. And the flip head figures used to do really well, and I think that they don't as much anymore. And some stuff like that. But if you can get cheap, if you can get inexpensively the early '90s, not like reproduced stuff though. Some of that stuff may do okay, but the early '90s Power Ranger stuff, that stuff tends to do it's worth grabbing if you can get it cheap. So that is that, and that's my sales today. Couple of halfway decent finds. Let's see. These two. This. Okay. Yeah, and that. Okay. This is a curious piece. I'm going to start with this one. This is one of those that it's going to... I think I'm going to be able to do fine because I'm undercutting everybody. Religious Liberty Volume 5. There's only a couple of these out there, and they're all for like $50. No recent sales other than one book in this series. But I think this is one of those that's worth grabbing, and I'll stash it in my textbook bin, and I just make sure I'm one of the lowest prices on the market, because then it will sell within the next year. So this is the type of thing that there are some books naturally have a long tail. Particularly textbooks and educational stuff, but sometimes it's worth it. You just need to be able to store this stuff, and I have a spot I can store some of this stuff. That's usually the typical the issue with this. Sometimes is, and what you see, I think, with some of the bigger sellers, so you got more room to store more of this type of stuff. So they run the price up and and they can stash it, and then it's kind of worthwhile. Well, the way to get around that is be the lowest price on the market. So that when somebody needs it, you're the one that they buy. The other part of that is I'm also the one with the real pictures of this book. I don't think that there was anybody out there that they were all stock photo, or it was just like the scanned image of the front. I've got a real image of this book. That puts me at a competitive advantage actually over some of the bigger booksellers. So I'm hitting twice. One, I'm going to be the cheapest. Two, I've got a real picture. So. And this may take a year to sell. It may sell next week. Demand's really kind of hard to gauge on it. It's not high. I know that. But if the book is out there, this may be one of those that's needed for a course eventually. So think about that when you're getting textbooks and you see a bunch that have high price on them. It's like, sometimes it's a mood thing whether I grab it. Sometimes like, okay, I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna stash it and I'm gonna just make sure I'm the lowest price. So that's how that works on those. Next up, I thought this would be worth a little bit more, and I don't, and it's not. This is a Cessna 1985 152 manual, information manual, and manuals and such on not cars. That OEM manuals tend to do okay anyway. I have sold several original manuals that come with the car. So this is kind of the one that came with the plane. I'm a little surprised that, and I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe there's not much of this plane out there anymore. I'm a little surprised this is this cheap. I remember looking it up when I posted it. I put it up anyway because it still sells a little bit, and we will see. Let me look what I got it listed at. There it is. I got this for $18, and I'll take like 12. Heck, I'd probably even take 10. So this isn't like a $50 or $70 book. I was a little surprised. I didn't even bother. I don't even know if I did look it up in store. And I kind of bought it anyways. Like, it's an OEM manual. These things will move eventually. So, original manuals to your books tend to do okay. So, grab them when you see them, but do your homework when you do, so that you're not paying too much for it. Next up, Star People. It's a $10 book. I think between $8 and $10, I'll probably sell it for. I don't know if this is. Yeah, this is Aliens Among Us. So type stuff. So a little conspiracy type thing. So that's always worth grabbing. So Star People, Aliens Among Us. Maybe I'm one of them. I don't know. Finally, this is the fun one. This is music. George Harrison. All Things Must Pass. Lyric, sheet music, guitar chord book. From 1970. But a couple of neat things about this one. I've got this one up for $50. And a couple of neat things about this one. Got a lyric book with it. And an intact poster in the book. So I think I've got one of the better examples of this on eBay. So I'll put it at 50. Had a pretty good, had some decent hits on it so far. No watchers yet, but people are looking at it. So this one I think will go between $30 and $50, depending. Particularly because I've got the poster and the lyric book with it, and I think all the other sellers don't have those two things, or minimum they don't have a lyric book. So, music chord books, look them up. It's one of those, it's almost like 50-50 that they're worth grabbing. I've got a couple. I need to start seeing if I can lot them up and sell them that way. Specific bands, specific artists tend to do a little bit better than your generic, hey, best hits of the 70s. I actually left a couple of those on the shelf. They were like best hits of the 70s, best hits of the 80s. Those types of books, it really depends, but they're less likely to have resale value as much as ones with specific artists and that sort of thing. So, George Harrison. So, Beatles. Yeah. Okay, is that it? I think that's it for this go round. So, let's get things packed up, out the door, and see what we can find this week and get a few more done. I've had a real good month. August is going to be really good. There was a little bit of carryover, I think, from July. And this is probably the best month I've had this year, sales-wise, with what I'm going to be putting in my pocket. So, I think well in excess. For those of you wondering, this is not full-time. This is pocket money in a sense. Helps me. Basically, I shoot to kind of afford a car payment doing this every month. And that I've been generally successful at that so far. And so this month I think I'll put close to $700 in my pocket that's net profit doing resales. So and so I'm kind of happy about that, because it means I've been doing something right. So keep listening, keep selling, and I'll see you next time. Like, comment, subscribe. All right. Any further comments?